Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Michigan lands another playmaker in the 2024 class in four-star wide receiver ATH Stewart from the state of Illinois. And this is a player we beat out Tennessee, Oregon for on the recruiting trail. And you're starting to see this Michigan offense kind of surround Jaden Davis with some playmakers in the 2024 class. And that's been something a lot of Michigan fans have talked about. Obviously, we're recruiting the offensive line position really well. We have Jaden Davis in the fold. Now let's get some playmakers to help Jaden Davis out. One thing I think a lot of us are guilty of forgetting, including myself, and some of you guys have reminded me in the comment section, get to top 10 tight ends in the country as well, and Brady Prescorn and Hogan Hansen. So that's a whether we like it or not, Michigan uses their tight ends as offensive playmakers, and we have two of the best coming in that 2024 class. So we are getting some playmakers at the wide receiver spot in Shannon Goodwin, ATH Stewart. We'll talk about a few more targets that we have, but already like the talent around Jaden Davis is going to be big time. Now, before we get into ATH Stewart again, just want to say thank you to you guys. It's been just an absolute blast. Two things I love talking about most: Michigan football, recruiting, and Michigan's been super hot on the trail. I've had a blast talking with you guys in the comment section. The support, the love you guys have shown truly does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. And let's get into ATH Stewart, who, if I were to describe his game from what I've seen, playmaker, probably the first one. And then also just a guy who understands the position of wide receiver. Right? He's not the biggest, 6'1", solid size. He's not the fastest, but he's a really smooth route runner who knows how to get open and create separation. But he also can work vertically down the field and has some ball skills to go up and make plays. And that's something that a lot of Michigan fans, including myself, are just asking a little bit more of to see in 2023 and kind of the future of this offense. Firing up the film on ATH Stewart, though, like he is a really, really fun film to watch. You're going to see him work vertically down the field, has really good ball skills, and that's kind of what you want. And you see a lot of wide receivers come out of high school with size and speed or whatever it is, verified track times. Sometimes they kind of don't have those ball skills and that feel for route running. ATH Stewart's a guy, runs super clean routes. He's very comfortable tracking the football. He seems to be a guy that's going to get on campus and kind of have an impact relatively soon. He's also really, really good after the catch, burners to the end zone. The next play, though, is kind of what I mean in the sense that he just understands the wide receiver position, special movement skills to create separation. Honestly, kind of reminds me a little bit of Ronnie Bell, who came out as a two-star out of high school, but just understood that wide receiver position, understood how to create separation. That kind of seems like what ATH Stewart is going to bring to this offense. Now, I do want to have the conversation about the playmakers surrounding Jaden Davis. We've already talked about the phenomenal offensive line that Michigan is cultivating. Jaden Davis is going to be protected. You're going to have a very good run game with Jordan Marshall in the fold. But two guys that I feel like just don't get enough love in this class are Brady Prescorn, who's the number 5 tight end in the country, and Hogan Hansen, the number 10 tight end in the country. Both those guys elite at their position, and that's massive for Michigan. Obviously the quarterback and the running backs are very important to this Michigan offense. I think arguably you take a look at some of the most impactful players on that Michigan offense from 2022, Luke Schoonmaker and Colston Loveland. And Colston Loveland is probably going to be top 3 receiving yards on this Michigan offense in 2023. Michigan uses their tight ends a lot. You see a lot of 12 personnel. And so, yeah, we haven't landed a Ryan Wingo or an elite top 100 wide receiver in this class. We have 2 phenomenal tight ends that are playmakers, matchup nightmares. And so I've been kind of guilty of saying, why can't we land some of these playmakers to help out Jaden Davis? Well, don't forget about Hogan Hansen and Brady Prescorn, who are 2 very, very good football players that I feel like get overlooked a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that recruiting that wide receiver position is not something that I want to see. We have a shot at a couple other guys that I want to talk about a little bit, but that is something that I expect to improve. Like if you look at the end of 2022 and how explosive that offense looked against Ohio State, against Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, against TCU in the college football playoffs, I think the last couple of years it was really hard for Michigan to land some of those top wide receivers, because that offense was not exactly a offense that wide receivers were lining up to play for. Quarterback play was question mark a lot of times. The explosiveness and the verticality of which we wanted to push the ball downfield really wasn't there on offense. I think you saw a little bit of a change in 2022 towards the back end. In 2023, I think you're going to see a meaningful change. And that's when I think recruiting these wide receivers is going to pick up a little bit. And so looking at who we have coming in this weekend, we'll talk about Aaron Scott in a little bit, but I kind of want to talk about some more playmakers that we have chances for that I'd like to see in this class. And it does start with Gatlin Bear. We talk about working the ball down the field vertically. Gatlin Bear is the fastest player in this 2024 class. I mean, straight up Olympic 100-meter times at 10.15, I want to say. He's coming in for an official visit at the end of the month. I would expect him to be a top priority. Another guy worth mentioning, Taylor Tatum, who Michigan had a lot of traction for. Now it seems he's going USC. Mike Hart getting him back on campus, kind of setting up in his mind like, hey, this running back duo between you and Jordan Marshall could really be special. That's another guy. And then another guy I want to talk about, Jordan Shipp, another one of those Providence State teammates of Jaden Davis, more of a bigger body who can attack more on the perimeter. He's another guy that I would keep an eye on in terms of some weapons around Jaden Davis. So we have this explosive offense in the future. Now, if there is one, and going back to the commitments in the fold, if there's one position that I'm a little bit concerned about, that is that cornerback spot, right? Andre Evans, a guy that Michigan was going after hard at that cornerback spot, commits to LSU yesterday. We don't have a cornerback committed in the class. And so suddenly you're starting to look at this cornerback spot, and we two guys that are want to start with, right? Aaron Scott, one of the best cornerbacks in the country from Ohio. He'll be on campus this weekend. Obviously, I think you guys saw it. If you're watching this video, you probably saw the videos of him in the hotel, Michigan giving the shoes, all the candy and all that stuff. And then Bryce West, who it sounds like Michigan, I think both of these guys were thought to be as Ohio State leans early on in the process. It seems like Michigan and Steve Clinkscale, shout out him. He's done a phenomenal job creating relationships with these guys. I think these suddenly two become the biggest targets for Michigan on this trail to close out this 2024 class because we don't have a cornerback already locked in. Another guy I do want to shout out, though, Boo Carter. He's committing tomorrow, so keep your eyes out on that. He's a guy that listed as an athlete, quite frankly, could play wide receiver, but I think would be an elite nickel, kind of like Mikey Sandstrom. And again, Mikey Sandstrom is a guy that played a lot of wide receiver to start his career, moves over to the nickel. I don't know if there's a better nickel in the country than Mikey Sandstrom. So Boo Carter, Aaron Scott, Bryce West, probably my two biggest names on the board. I feel really good about the edge position and all the traction we have for some of those top edge rushers. The position that I think you want to see land is Bryce West, Aaron Scott, or Boo Carter, or potentially all three. The 4-for-4, I'd be for that as well. That does seem like, in my mind, to kind of round out this 2024 class, to kind of check all the boxes. I think Bryce West and Aaron Scott are two of the guys that I would like to see committed to Michigan to end this class. That'll do it for right now. Again, we will be back talking Boo Carter tomorrow. If you guys enjoy the content, lock in, subscribe to the channel. I really do think Michigan has a shot with Boo Carter. It seemed to be Tennessee for a long time. He seemed to enjoy his visit last weekend, so we'll stay locked in for that. Appreciate you guys for checking the fellas out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.